financial markets in turmoil.
What are the root causes of the financial crisis?
The dollar losing value.
Heading for its biggest loss in nearly 3 decades.
Will Social Security even be there?
I don't know.
Buy or rent?
That's a very good question.
Interest rates.
I'm not so sure.
Where do you put your money?
I don't know.
Welcome to the show that answers your questions. This is Follow the Money Weekly with your host, economist, and best-selling author. Here's Jerry Robinson.
Well, friends, welcome to you all around the world. Welcome to Follow the Money Radio. So grateful to have you here along for the ride today. We have a really good shoe lined up for you today. We're going to be talking about, as you can see from today's title, Are You Prepared for a Financial Emergency? Are you prepared for a financial emergency? Now, what we're doing today is we're actually we're beginning to go through our 5 levels of financial freedom. You know, we're here near the end of the year 2020. It's been a very tiresome year. It's been a very difficult year, not just for people living in the United States or in the West, but all over the world. It's been a very trying year. And we should now all know that things can happen that are outside of our control. Just in case we weren't aware of that, 2020 has really served as a wake-up call to the fact that there's a lot of things that are just outside of our control. And one of the things that we can do to be good stewards of the finances that we have is to be prepared for a financial emergency. And a financial emergency can look like a lot of different things. It could be an unexpected medical emergency. It could be an unexpected weather event in your area. It could be something that maybe a job loss. Maybe you lose a job, or maybe you lose a contract as a business owner or something. It's something that comes out of the blue. And we have created here at Follow the Money, we have created our 5 levels of financial freedom. You can find those online for free. We also put those in our book, Bankruptcy of Our Nation, and discuss them there. But you can find a very good discussion about them on our website at followthemoney.com/5 levels. And what the 5 levels of financial freedom are 5 steps, if you will, towards achieving financial security. I want you to be financially free. I want you to have financial security. And that's one thing that you probably want too. Many of you may already have financial security. Many of you have been following our work here at Follow the Money for some time, and many of you have gone through the 5 levels. I've coached so many people over the years. It's been such a joy and an honor, friends. You don't even know how my heart sings from all of the stories and all of the coaching over the years that we have done. And we've helped so many people understand how to break free financially, whether it's, someone wanting to be able to figure out how to break free from their corporate America job, and they want to maybe build a business or start a side hustle, or they want to be able to send their children to college and they just don't know how to do it, or maybe they're trying to start a savings plan. These are all the things that you learn in our 5 levels of financial freedom. But the 5 levels of financial freedom are in a specific order. And we put level 1 first. It comes first for an obvious reason. And on our last podcast, we talked about giving on purpose. And if you missed that podcast, I would strongly encourage you to go back and give it a listen. In fact, I'm sitting here looking at one of the entries that we had for our Bitcoin contest, which, by the way, we're giving away $100 in free Bitcoin today to one lucky winner. And we'll announce that person's name at the end of the show. But we got one comment here about last week's show that I want to share with you, and it was from Joseph R. from Fort Worth, Texas. And he said, Jerry Robinson is very informative and uplifting. I thought the Charitable Giving podcast was one of the best I've ever heard, as nobody, and he puts this in all caps, nobody covers this essential part of a financial plan. Keep up the great work. Thank you, Joseph from Texas. And, that's so true. Giving is kind of a neglected area, and we front load that in our 5 levels of financial freedom. And the 5 levels of financial freedom are the same steps that my wife and I took to achieve financial freedom. So it's not like we've come up with a strategy that is not, we're not eating our own cooking, if you will. This is actually a strategy that we have used to break free financially. And we want you to have the same freedom. We want you to have the same freedom. I remember whenever I was younger, trying to break free financially, but just not knowing how. It was just literally the amount of knowledge that I had was limited, and it prevented me from being able to break free. And so this podcast and our services here at Follow the Money are designed to give you the knowledge that you may lack, that is the missing piece that can help you achieve your goals, specifically your financial goals. But we want you to do that in a way that's responsible and not reckless. So we don't teach a reckless strategy. Instead, it's line upon line, precept upon precept, building block upon building block, and we get there the right way. We don't try to take shortcuts. And so today, we talked about giving, which is the very, very, very first element of level 1 of our 5 levels of financial freedom. And today, we're going to dive deeper into level 1 and move past the giving, because we talked about it on our last podcast, and we're going to tackle the other topics in level 1. And let me tell you what they are, and then we'll proceed to go into them in more depth. But in level 1, when you are getting started on your journey towards financial freedom, the very first thing that you want to do is you want to build an emergency reserve. Thus, the topic of today's podcast, are you prepared for a financial emergency? So let's talk about some of the steps that are in level 1 that you'll want to consider and decide upon before moving on to level 2 in our 5 levels of financial freedom. Level 1, in addition to creating that charitable giving plan, and by the way, if you need to go download that, go to followthemoney.com/giving. We have a video there and a PDF download worksheet that you can download and fill out and complete, as we talked about on our last podcast. Now, once we've done that, we move on to the next step in level 1, which is creating a go bag, which is a 72-hour emergency kit that contains, all of your life essentials that would kind of get you through a 3-day period, right? In case of a home fire or wicked weather or, some other disaster. We don't know. We don't know what tomorrow holds. We don't even know what today holds. So having a go bag is just simply prudent. We'll talk about that in a minute. Also, in level 1, we want to create a 3-month food and water supply. In other words, creating enough supply of food and water for our household to get through a 3-month period. Well, that came in handy whenever the coronavirus hit America earlier this year and other parts of the world as well. We had a lot of you commenting on how the 5 levels of financial freedom, just that one step in level 1 of building up food and water supplies, was such a big deal and really helped you in this kind of strange environment that we find ourselves in. So that's the next step in level 1. Then we move on to building a systematic savings plan. We're going to talk about that today. Ultimate goal there being to save at least 15% of your income every month. Now, not everybody can do that. We'll talk about that in a few minutes, but you want to begin where you can. And then finally, the final step of level 1 before you move on and graduate to level 2 is to build 2 months of savings, right? Based upon your current gross monthly income. Okay, so there are the steps in level 1, and I don't want you to be intimidated by those. If you're listening to me today and you're saying, gosh, that all sounds good, but I don't know where I would start or how I could get there, don't be intimidated by that. You can do this. And others of you who may, and in fact, I've coached many people over the years who have, a really big income, $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 in income, and they're not even satisfying the steps of level 1 yet. And so they go back, and of course they have money to do it, but they just realize that they weren't actually positioned for a financial emergency. They made plenty of money, but they weren't ready in case there was a financial emergency because they spent too much or they saved too little or whatever. So it doesn't really matter where you are. Level 1 matters. It matters. And level 1 is where you lay that foundation. You build that emergency reserve, and it's a mindset more than anything. It really is. So let's begin by taking level one apart, kind of pulling it apart here, and talk about, first of all, after we've talked about the charitable giving plan, we get our mind right. We get that giving plan kind of laid out. We have a strategy, and we kind of know what the purpose is. Remember, if you start building your income, you start trying to acquire wealth, but you don't have a purpose, you're going to face heartbreak oftentimes. Money doesn't bring you happiness. It brings you freedom. It brings you, in some cases, security, but it doesn't actually bring you happiness. So you have to find a way to position yourself that you're not going to just be chasing money, because that's not going to make you happy. It's not a place that you want to be. You want money to be your servant, not your master. And so giving, of course, is a way to preempt some of the problems that money can create in your life. So we start there. But once we have that giving plan, what do we do next? Well, we move into the next step of level one, which is the building a go bag. And it's funny because even today, many people are not familiar with what a go bag is. And in fact, we actually held a class. Jennifer, my wife, did a great class at our last Follow the Money Summit held in Northwest Arkansas in 2019, back when we could all get together in the same room. And I sure do miss those days, and I can't wait for our next summit. At some point, we're going to hold one once we kind of have a clearance there. But when we were there, she did a class on a go bag, and so she just showed our go bag. And this may sound to you like it's not important, or maybe it's just an unnecessary step. And of course, all of these things are your choices. You don't have to build a go bag when you're in level one. You can skip that part. You can move on to the next part, but you need to realize what you're skipping, right? You need to realize what you're giving up. Just like when you get to level 2 or level 3, there'll be some things there in our 5 levels that you say, well, I don't think this is appropriate for me. Well, that's fine. It's your choice. I mean, ultimately, that's really what it's all about. Your choice is what it's all about. But you got to remember that it was your choice. Far too many times, people end up in a bad financial situation, and they're like, oh, I wish I would have made this choice. I wish I would have known, right? Perfect example is like disability insurance. People go out and maybe they become disabled, partially disabled, and they could have purchased disability insurance, but they didn't. Or maybe a will. Maybe they die prematurely and they don't have a will. I mean, there's a lot of things that are in your power, but you have to take control. And that's what the 5 levels of financial freedom are all about, is that you make the choices. You decide. We lay them out for you, and you decide what's going to work for you. But if you turn something down, if you say, I'm not going to have a go bag, well, then you're the one who makes that decision, and then you live with that decision, right? So we don't think the go bag is something you should skip, even though it might seem frivolous to some people. And our go bag is filled with all of life's necessities that we would need for 3 days. It's like a 72-hour emergency kit. So, this is what we also call a bug out bag or something. And Jennifer showed our go bag, and many people had questions. And of course, it really inspired a lot of people to create their own. And we keep one go bag in our trunk of our car, or also in the back of our van. And then we also have one at the closet door of our house. And so in the event that we just have to, scram, if we have to get out of the house, maybe the house is on fire, or maybe we have to leave town, maybe we're out. One time we were out driving across the big, I think it was the panhandle of Oklahoma or Texas. We were somewhere way out in the middle of nowhere. And I was driving down the road out of nowhere. I was driving my Toyota. I had a Toyota at the time, and I was driving down the road, and the tire busted. I got a flat tire, blew out the tire. I was driving right down the highway, nobody around. Tire blows out, and it literally is such a violent blowout that it knocks off the back bumper of the car. So the bumper is like dragging on the floor, on the ground, and the tire is blown out, and I'm in the middle of nowhere. And we have zero cell signal, my wife and I. And we were traveling from one event to another. I was speaking somewhere, and we were out in the middle of nowhere, and it was getting dark. It was probably like 6 o'clock in the evening, and we had a busted tire, and I had a spare, but I couldn't get the bumper back onto the car. I mean, what good is it if you can drive, if the bumper's not on? And so such a weird situation. Wow. Somebody came, probably like no cars for probably 30 minutes. We thought we're not going to see anybody tonight. And about 30 minutes later, someone came driving down, or maybe like an hour later, somebody came driving down the way. We flagged them down. This gentleman was so helpful to us. He helped us. And if it was not for the things that we had in our go bag, like zip ties and some of the things that we needed, literally, we would have been stuck out there. We would have been stuck and maybe haven't had to camp out there based upon what was happening, because this guy didn't have room for us in his car and all of this. So anyway, the point is that because of that go bag, our hide was saved, right? Because of what we had in that go bag. And the other thing that many people don't think about is like all of the different papers, all the important papers they have in their file cabinet or wherever you keep your important documents, scanning those and keeping those on a thumb drive and then keeping that locked down, of course, with a password, and then keeping it in your go bag. If you ever have to leave, all your pictures, all your documents, you want to have all of that somewhere safe that you could take off in case your house burned down and it burned down all the stuff you need, like all your memories and all your documents. So the go bag is huge. And it's just like any other backpack or duffel bag. And, in fact, we gave one away at our last Follow the Money Summit. You just buy yourself a nice backpack, and then you can put different things into it. In fact, we have a whole list of some of the different things that we have in our go bag. Let me just tell you a few of them. We have a Katadyn pocket water filter. Love my Katadyn water filter. I can use that anywhere. So if we go out camping or whatever, I can take that Katadyn and I can turn any water source, almost any, not ocean water, but anything besides ocean water, I can turn into drinkable, potable water, very quickly with the Katadyn. So I really like that. Utility knife. We have some silver coins as an alternative payment method in our go bag. We have a first aid kit. We got multiple fire sources, matches in a waterproof case, magnesium fire starter, things like that. Multivitamins, flashlights, food, a little bit of food to get us through, 3 days. Communication tools like a long distance radio or a hand crank radio, prepaid mobile phone, things like that. You may never need them. You may never use them. But what is it? It's insurance for an emergency, right? It's insurance for an emergency. People say, well, why do I have house insurance? I never use it. I just sit there and spend money on the insurance. Well, you do it because if something might happen, right? You say, why do I have auto insurance? I pay for it all the time, but I don't really need it. Well, yeah, you do in case something happens, right? So that's why you do it. Well, it's the same thing with this. It's kind of like crisis or emergency insurance. You have this go bag and it's ready to go. So the go bag you can learn all about by going to followthemoney.com/5 levels. And in level 1, you'll see there it is, create a go bag, and you can click on that. I've done a video on the topic, showed you my own go bag on that page and all of this. So you can find all of those resources right there on our website. Now, once you have created your go bag, and remember, we're talking about a time of great peril that we're in right now. So having an emergency kit where you can just bug out, especially in some of the cities today. I mean, let's not, go too far here, but when you turn on the media, they're talking about possible civil war, We've got riots this year. We've had looting. We've had protests. We got a bunch of anger in the country. And then there's also the threat, of course, of an EMP attack, right? We've talked about that before on the podcast. That could happen. The electric grid could go down. We know that our electric grid is highly targeted by many of our adversaries. The pandemic has also created a very uneven kind of situation in our country. And the food supply, in many cases can be precarious. And we saw the food supply here in the United States coming under big constraints, the supply chain, during the early months of our public health crisis. So that we really shouldn't have to build a case for, the possibility of some craziness in the future, right? Because we've already seen some craziness in our own current time. So the go bag, powerful, powerful. Now, once we have our giving plan, once we have our go bag, one in our car for emergencies, one in our house, right? I think is ideal to have 2. The next step is to build a 3-month supply of food and water. I remember I was watching a PBS special many years ago, and it was talking about the topic of, preparedness. And somebody was interviewed. I can't remember the exact details, but somebody was interviewing somebody. And someone asked them about, being prepared. And the person said they weren't too worried because they always had the grocery stores. And the interviewer was like, what do you mean? And this person was like, well, the grocery stores make food. And so I'm not worried about it running out. And so many people don't, and I know nobody in my audience thinks that, but some people just don't think about the food supply chain, and they just assume that the grocery store is always going to have exactly what they want. And this year, again, we got a big shocker when we went to the grocery store and found out, guess what? There's not enough toilet paper, or there's not enough paper goods, or there's not enough this or that. So we know that there can be problems. And so building a 3-month food and water supply in level 1, now you're going to expand that in level 3. You're going to actually grow that to a 6-month food and water supply. But in the beginning, just to get off the ground, hey, look, when you're living underneath the bridge, you don't have to move right to the mansion, right? You just get started. Don't walk or don't run before you can walk, so to speak. So we build the 3-month food and water supply because grocery stores don't make food, right? That's not how it works. And one of the things that my wife and I actually did is we moved away from the city way back in 2012. We were living in the middle of Houston, Texas, actually one of the suburbs up there or down there. And we left. We decided to leave. We decided to relocate. This was all before the rage became popular. Many people are now moving, to less populated areas, and it's right. I think it's a good move for people. But this was before all that trend became popular in recent months. And back in 2012, we moved out to a spot in Northwest Arkansas. We were looking at Idaho. We were looking at Wyoming. We were looking at Colorado, many different places. And even at the time, I was really kind of disgusted with the prices that I saw for land. It's like, this is outrageous. This was back in 2012. Of course, the prices are through the roof now, of course. But I was looking around and I was saying, well, when it comes to relocation, we have to meet these different requirements. We had a huge list of requirements, and we kind of graded all these different areas. We settled on Northwest Arkansas because the cost of living and the cost of real estate was so much cheaper. And we thought, gosh, we could buy a place here, have a much bigger place here, and then all the money that we save, well, we could take trips out to, Colorado or Idaho or Wyoming or Montana or Washington or Oregon. I love those western states. I like the rugged mountains, the Rocky Mountains and things like that. So anyway, long story short, I'm kind of getting off track here. I want to go back now to just basically talk about in Arkansas, where we are now, we actually have a nice big garden, and teaching our children how to garden, how to grow food. That food is not created by the grocery store, but instead we have to, do it ourselves. And I want my children to know how that works. And that's what we did. Anyway, we have a lot about this topic on our website. We made a video many years ago talking about how we do and build our food supply and water supply. And we're not probably approaching it the way some people do. We don't actually buy the big buckets, from Sam's, or the big buckets of food that you can buy, like the emergency style. Instead, we actually just purchase more of what we already eat, right? So we buy more of what we already eat. And that way we have plenty, right? Plenty to last us. And it's really not that much more expensive than just buying the buckets of food that you can buy for emergencies at Sam's or whatever. So building a 3-month food and water supply, I tell you, is vital in this environment. And we have all the details, by the way, in our 5 levels of financial freedom, lots of steps. We also have some creative ideas for long-term water storage. I mentioned the Katadyn pocket water filter earlier. We really like it, but there's lots of different ways. And if you're living in the city, we have lots of tips for you as well. So regardless, followthemoney.com/5 levels. Look at level 1, and you will see all about the creating a go bag and creating 3 months of food and water supply. All right, so we're moving right through level 1 now. We've talked about several things, and now the next step in level 1 has to do with saving money. Let's face it. Americans are not the world's best savers, right? If you live here in America, you know what I mean. Many people don't even have a rainy day fund. They're not prepared for, any kind of circumstances that may be out of, the common. And so it's very important that we don't try to take shortcuts when it comes to our financial success. And many people think that they don't have to save. They just want to move right on to investing. But it's very important that we realize that if we want to be a good investor, we need to begin by becoming a good saver. And this reason is that when you begin to save money, it's a habit that's going to serve you well. And it's actually going to turn into, over time, you're going to be laying the foundations for your investing. Good savers make better investors than non-savers. And the reason is that those who have money saved, those who have money in the bank that they've saved up for a rainy day, or not, maybe not in the bank, but wherever they keep, those who have money saved don't have to try to hit a home run every time they invest. And this is so common that people will come to the investing world and they don't have much in the way of savings. And because they don't have much in savings, they take on excessive risk in the stock market or in the cryptocurrency market or in the precious metals market or whatever market it is that they're entering. And they go too far. They get over leveraged in one particular asset class because they're trying to hit a home run. Why? Because they don't have any money or they don't have enough money. And that actually is not a prudent way to invest, to put all of your money into one thing or to take on excessive risk when you don't have any savings. So, and let me tell you about something called the profit principle while I'm at it, because this is a principle that literally changed my life whenever I fully understood it. The profit principle. It comes from the book of Proverbs, chapter 14, verse 23. I was reading the book of Proverbs is one of my favorite books in the Bible. Ecclesiastes, too. If you've never read the book of Ecclesiastes, what an incredible book. And also Proverbs, incredible wisdom by the wise King Solomon. But in Proverbs 14:23, the wise King Solomon writes, "In all labor there is profit." In all labor, there is profit. And I remember after reading that, I probably read that 100 times, and I read it again, and I was meditating on it. In all labor, there is profit. Now, if you know what the definition of profit is, then you know that profit is essentially the amount of money that's left over after you've paid for all of your expenses, right? So profit is like net income, right? Everybody knows that. I mean, profit is not revenue. It's not the total amount of sales that you have. It's the money that's left over, right? So when I began to think about this, I thought, well, what's an individual profit? Well, an individual's profit, corporate profits, we know what that is. Corporation has a bunch of revenues, and then they have expenses, and then you minus, and there's the net income, there's the earnings, or there's the profit, if you will. Well, what about an individual? Let's think of you as a business for a minute, and your profit as an individual is what? Well, it's the profit from your labor, or it's the profit from your work. And how do we determine what that profit rate is? Well, we look at the amount of money that you save or that you don't spend. So in mathematical terms, your profit rate is your savings rate. Well, it just blew my mind when I thought about that many years ago, because I realized that each month that I didn't save any money from my paycheck, that was a month that I did not earn a profit from my labor. And I remember just thinking to myself, whoa, I mean, who in the right mind would do that? Who in the right mind would work a job every day for zero profit, right? Who would work for a zero profit? But in fact, whenever we fall into the consumption trap and we go to work and we earn our paycheck and then all of it's gone and we don't save any of it because we're paying off Visa and we're paying off the car loan and we're paying off the student loans, and we're paying off, our kids' braces, and we're paying off, whatever. I mean, all the different bills that come in on a regular basis. When we don't have anything left for ourselves to put into the bank or to keep for savings, then what do we have? We have a zero profit rate. We worked all that time for who? For the corporations. We worked for the mortgage company. We worked for the car financing company. We worked for Visa. We worked for all of these other entities, and all of our profit is literally given to all of these corporations. And you think to yourself, now, wait a minute. That's not a good strategy going forward, right? Today, large corporations operate their businesses for maximum profit, and small business owners are dependent upon their profits to survive and thrive. So why should you view your job as an individual? Why should you view your income any differently? Would you ever agree to work a job without earning a profit? Of course not. But how many people have I coached over the years who, once we drill down deep, we find out they're working for zero profit because they save nothing? And I should know because I used to be one. I used to be a terrible saver. And it took time for me to understand that I have got to put money back. And by putting money back, I'm also becoming a good steward of what I have, right? So I don't want to agree to give away all my profits to credit card companies and other corporations. That's like voluntary financial slavery. And I don't want that for you. So this financial strategy of saving, just developing a mindset that, look, I'm going to determine my profit rate. Are you profiting from your labor? This financial strategy will help you take back the most basic of your fundamental financial rights, your right to earn a profit from your labor. It's literally biblical. And it makes common sense that you should have control of the profits that are created as a result of your hard work. The quickest way to start saving is to make a real solid distinction in your mind and in your spouse's mind and in your family's mind of wants and needs, right? By prioritizing certain things and cutting the fat from your monthly budget, then you can really begin to start making some headway here in saving money. Now, the very first thing that you have to decide, though, is what is going to be your desired monthly profit rate. And unless you live in your parents' basement rent-free, it's virtually impossible for your profit rate to be 100%, right? So that's not going to happen. So it's not going to be 100%. So what's realistic, but at the same time an effective profit rate? Well, personally, I believe, after many, many years of researching this and actually applying different strategies, that the magic number that if you can get to, it's perfect, is 15% of your monthly income. Now, if you go to China, you'll find that the savings rate is much higher than that. And the reason is because they don't have the social safety nets that we have here in the West. So they have to save. If they don't save, the government's not going to give them something at the end. So they have to save money. But here in the United States or in other Western countries, we tend to kind of think, well, if we don't save, then the government will take care of us. Well, as our book Bankruptcy of Our Nation has shown, the government's bankrupt, right? I mean, if it's going to have money to pay you a pension, 20 or 30 years from now, it's going to be quite a miracle, to be quite frankly with you, because they're broke and they're not managing their money right. So it's incumbent upon you to take responsibility and say, I'm going to save and I'm going to really begin getting aggressive in this way. Now, you may be listening and say 15% is way too much. I can't do it, Jerry. Well, that's fine. And what I tell people when I coach them is, look, how about starting with 1%? Just start with 1%, right? Or 2% or 3%. And maybe just every month or maybe every couple of months or every quarter, you can raise it, right? Maybe you start with 1% this quarter, you move to 2% next quarter, but at least you're saving something. At least you have your profit rate is not just zero, right? So begin saving money. It's very good to save your money. Now, somebody might say, well, what do you want to do? Put it all in US dollars? Well, don't get ahead of us, because when we get to level 3, we're going to talk about how you diversify your savings, not just your investments. We're going to talk about how you diversify your savings. But let's stay focused upon level 1 for now. And in level 1, we're going to build up that 2 months of liquid savings. Now, what do we mean here by 2 months? And let's move in. That's the final step here of the 5 levels, is that we're going to build that savings. We're going to start saving 1, 2, 3, 4, 5%, all the way up to 15 being the goal. And if you can start at 15, that's awesome. You're going to get there quicker. If you can't start at 15, maybe you can start at 10, or maybe you start at 5. But whatever it is, if you're married, sit down with your spouse, make an agreement, say, look, we need to have a profit rate in this house, right? We need to have a profit rate of at least, 10%, 15%. Come on, you guys are working hard. You've got to have something to show for it. You can't give it all to corporations. You can't give it all to the credit card companies, right? You've got to have a profit rate that you keep. And then that is money then that you can start using. First, you're going to fill up a savings account so that you have a bucket of money that you can turn to for emergencies or for opportunity, pool of capital. But then after you have a little bit of savings, then you're going to be able to start investing, right? So we're going to get there. That's in level 4. But right now, in our goal in level 1 is to have you, figure out what you're going to be doing with charitable giving. That's the very first step. Next, to build a go bag, right? Create a go bag. Next, create 3 months of food and water supply. Then approach your savings. What's your profit rate? You determine your profit rate, and then you begin to save. And what are you going to do? You're going to accumulate 2 months of your gross income in savings, right? For some people, that's going to be easy. For others, you just heard what I said, and you said, how in the world am I going to do that? How am I going to get to 2 months of my gross income? And if you're listening to me and you're in that position, you need to hear this. This is vital for you. It's so important for you to be able to have a plan to get here, and I want to help you. Now, when I say liquid savings, you may say, what does that mean? Well, it means money that you can just tap. It's just literally cash, right? It's available to you. It's not locked away in a 401k. It's not locked away in the equity of your home, but it's real money that you can touch. So liquid savings or liquid money is money that you can touch. And the goal here is to save 2 months of your income. So if you make $2,500 a month, then your goal is what? 2 of those. So $5,000, right? 2 months of it. If you make $5,000 per month, your goal then is to save $10,000. That's level 1. And until you have 2 months of liquid savings, you're not going to go into level 2. So that's the goal. So, and if you make, say, maybe you're younger and you say, I'm only making $1,500 a month. Well, then your goal would be what? $3,000. Now, that's not your ultimate goal. That's your goal now in level 1. That's where you got to start. Now, remember, you say, why do I want this money? Why do I want to have this way? It's going to be hard for me to get it. Well, it's going to be maybe difficult for you, but when you have it, it's going to serve as an emergency reserve. If there's any kind of emergency, you're going to have cash to be able to take care of it. If you're looking at an opportunity that comes across your path, how many times when we have our eyes open and we're looking, do we run across opportunities, right? If we have our eyes open, we're going to see it. And if we have money in the bank, we're probably going to have our eyes open a little wider because we can actually do something about it. So not only is this money going to serve as an emergency reserve, it's also going to serve as a pool of opportunity capital, right? Take advantage of opportunities when they come along. And believe me, in this economy that we're in now, there's probably going to be many opportunities for people to spot and see and potentially take advantage of. And I can't stress this enough that when it comes to savings, the best way to save, or people say, well, when should I save? Well, I would save regularly, and I would save on autopilot. I would make it systematic. I wouldn't even think about it. I would automatically have that 1%, 2%, 3%, or up to 15% of my paycheck withheld if I could, and just dumped into a savings account, right, while I'm building it up. So systematic saving, autopilot saving is the absolute best way to approach this. Now, along these lines, sometimes people say, well, I need some ideas on how to save money. Well, let's talk about a few ideas. I'll throw out a few ideas here to help you if you say, I don't know how I can get to that 2 months liquid savings without, saving for a year, right? Well, let's talk about how you can speed it up a little bit. Number one, you can eat out less, right? No doubt about it. And in fact, with this public health crisis, most of us probably are eating out less, and more of us are cooking from home. So that's certainly something that you can save money on. I know even in my own family budget, since we have been in this public health crisis, the amount of money we have spent on eating out has gone down drastically. And we've actually taken that money that we've saved from that and used it for other purposes to help us get further ahead, right? So that's awesome. You can also review your insurance. Many times, your insurance deductibles might be really, really low, but as you begin to save money, you can actually raise those deductibles because you have money in the bank, and then you can actually save money on a monthly basis. So not talking about lowering the limits of liability or anything on your insurance, but specifically the deductible, because when you have money in the bank, you don't have to have the ultra low deductible, which ends up costing you more per month. So that's another idea. You can review your insurance. You can also do an energy audit. We've been actually looking at solar panels very, very closely, really hard for the last couple of years, because they're going to provide a lot of potential savings to us. And a lot of companies will install them and you don't have to pay anything up front. So, and over time, you end up saving a lot of money. So an energy audit on your home might be something. You could also start a side hustle to help you grow your savings. Oh, there's so many different ideas. Right now is one of the very best times, in fact, to start a side hustle. And we have at our website here, followthemoney.com, we have an income university for all of our gold and platinum members. They have access to, and it includes 22 different ways to make money now or in retirement. And that's just filled with ideas on different ways that you can, earn an income. So considering starting a side hustle, you probably got a lot of stuff in the garage, or you probably got a lot of stuff you don't use anymore. Put it on Craigslist. Take all the money that you make from that and put it towards your savings fund, right? Start building up this liquid savings, because once you have 2 months of gross income saved, then you're going to be able to move on to level 2 and then to level 3, and you're going to get there. You're going to get there. You're going to achieve financial security if you focus upon this and really take it seriously. So you could start a side hustle, right? Also Amazon. I used to run an Amazon business whenever I was going to college and even before that, and did very well. Just talked to another person that I learned was selling on Amazon and was just through basic arbitrage. Target or Walmart will have a big clearance sale on some stuff. She goes in and buys that and then puts it on Amazon and resells it for a higher price. So there's so many different little ways to create a side hustle, and that'll help you get there quicker, right? You can also call companies and ask for discounts. I think that's really popular this year. I even did that this year. I contacted some of the services that we use, and I said, look, I'm thinking about maybe not renewing this year, and I'm looking, for a discount. And I was surprised to find that many different companies were willing to bring their prices down. I think that's very, very interesting. So, obviously calling companies for a discount. Another big thing that you can do to save money, this is obviously something that you would want to talk about with your spouse and do a lot of research on, but is looking at stuff like a health sharing ministry. We, about a year or two ago, switched, or maybe it's even been longer now, we switched from our typical traditional Blue Cross Blue Shield health insurance, which costs an arm and a leg, and we're healthy. But for our family, it was just outrageous. And it was fine. We did it. But we paid for it because you got to have health insurance. But at the same time, we were looking for ways to cut costs, obviously. And a friend of ours told us about a health sharing ministry that actually has a great track record. He's actually used it for him and his wife. They had great success with it. And it cut our insurance costs by half. It was a dramatic savings. And we've been very happy with it. Now, we've never actually had to use it, knock on wood. We've never had to actually use it or actually have like any kind of claim or anything. But our friend has, and he has, they've paid everything. So that's one thing that you can look into. Those are very popular. You can also refinance your home, right? If you have a house or if you have rental properties or anything like that, now is a really interesting time to look at refinancing. You can save quite a bit of money every month by refinancing a home. You can also, one more thing I'll throw in here is just some people call it the 30-day rule. We have a 72-hour rule here in our own home where if we think we need something, well, we'll look at it and then we'll put it in our wish list or maybe put it in our shopping cart online or whatever. And we have a 72-hour rule. So wait for 72 hours. And and that's not for a $10, item. It's usually for things that are higher, but still that 72-hour rule is amazing because after 3 days, you may be like, well, I don't need this anymore. I don't really have the desire to have this anymore. And suddenly you start saving money because you start thinking about your purchases before you make them. So, that's a lot to take in today. I know that we've had a lot on this podcast about the different things that you can do to prepare for a financial emergency, but building your emergency reserve is absolutely vital, not only now, but especially as we head into even more uncertainty in the coming years ahead. So I want you to be prepared. I want you to be ready for whatever is ahead. And the best way to do that is to get serious right now and really focus upon saying, how can I build my savings? Do I have a go bag? Do I have 3 months of food and water supply? If the grocery stores suddenly don't have food again, if they don't have enough food again, or if we run into supply constraints or whatever the case might be, is my family ready? Do I have a systematic savings plan? Am I building savings? Or what's my profit rate? Am I saving any money? Or am I just working completely for the corporations? These are questions that you can ask yourself. And I'm happy to be here with you to ask these questions because I want you to succeed. I want you to break free financially. I've been in the place that many of you are, where you say, I want to break free, but I just don't know how. I'm confused. It begins by taking the first step. And the things that we put together in our 5 levels will help you so much if you are serious. Go to followthemoney.com/5 levels. See the information we put together for you. It's all free. It's all a completely free service that we provide to the whole world. We want everybody to be able to break free financially. So followthemoney.com/5 levels. Learn about building an emergency reserve in level 1. Be prepared for a financial emergency because odds are many of us will face one at some point in the future.
Are you prepared for the next stock market crash? It's not too late to protect yourself and your family with Jerry Robinson's best-selling book, Bankruptcy of Our Nation, now in a new audiobook format. Whether you want to listen in the car, at the gym, or on your iPad, we've got you covered. Get the entire 300-page book in audio format for only $24.95. That's over 12 hours of Jerry Robinson's economic wisdom, financial insights, and practical money-making strategies for only $24.95. Inside this new audiobook, you'll learn 21 profitable income streams you can create both now and in retirement, along with unique tips on how to inflation-proof your investment portfolio using our own PACE philosophy. And our 5 levels of financial freedom, which is Jerry Robinson's personal blueprint for building true wealth. If your goal is to become a better investor, increase your income, or just understand what is really happening in the global economy, you cannot afford to miss out on the vital information that is jam-packed into this 12-hour audio book. Get instant access to Bankruptcy of Our Nation in audio format right now by going online to www.ftmdaily.com/bankruptcy. That's ftmdaily.com/bankruptcy. Download your copy today and get on the fast track to true wealth and a lifetime of financial security.
Hey friends, this is Jerry Robinson from Follow the Money Weekly. Recently, we have been receiving many emails from our listeners commenting on the great help they're getting from our precious metals expert, Tom Cloud. Gold and silver are excellent hedges against the growing threat of coming U.S. inflation. Who's your gold guy? Make it Tom Cloud. With over 30 years experience with precious metals, Tom will answer all of your questions. Don't buy your gold and silver through some call center and pay inflated prices. Call my good friend Tom Cloud and speak directly with him and get all of your questions answered. For a limited time, Tom is offering free shipping and insurance on every gold and silver purchase made by our listeners. Call 800-247-2812. And when you do, tell him that Jerry Robinson from Follow the Money Weekly sent you, and he'll throw in that free shipping and insurance on your entire order. Call your gold guy, Tom Cloud, right now for the very best deals on gold and silver coins. 800-247-2812. That is 800-247-2812. All right, friends, welcome back to the program. Great to have you here, Follow the Money Radio. You can find us online at followthemoney.com. Lots of free resources there we've made for you over the years, lots of videos, and obviously our podcast goes back for, I guess 10 years now, a full decade we've been doing this. What an honor it has been to serve you over this last decade. But you can find all of that information at followthemoney.com. Now, I sure hope you enjoyed that last segment. We talked about level one and saving money. Saving money and getting prepared for a financial emergency. I'm so glad we had a chance to go through that. Now, what I want to do, as you well know, is that we are planning on giving away on this show $100 worth of Bitcoin. That is what we're going to be giving away today, and we're going to be announcing the winner in just a few moments. And then we're also going to announce a new giveaway that you'll be able to enter. You can enter for a chance to win. So we'll talk about that. Before we give away the $100 in free Bitcoin, I have to tell you that my heart was so moved by so many of the comments that came in from our giveaway. Because on the giveaway, you enter your name and town, and then also, of course, your email address so we can contact you if you win. But then also a comment on what about Follow the Money that you like the most. And I got so many of these. I mean, we had a flood of entries for this Bitcoin giveaway. And my heart was just lifted beyond what you can imagine by hearing all of the wonderful testimonies and all of the wonderful stories that were shared in that brief giveaway comment section. So anyway, I'm just going to share a few of these with you because I think you'll enjoy them too. And then I will announce the winner of the $100 in Bitcoin, and then we will announce the new giveaway for our next podcast coming up. Let me read you a few of these. Here's one, and many of these names, by the way, we know well because many of them are members here at Follow the Money. But here's Steve J. from Iowa. He says, I like the education that I received from listening on Follow the Money, and I have learned so much over the last 3 years. Thank you, Steve. I appreciate that. Patrick B. from Bakersfield, California says, Jerry offers his insight to a wide range of trading ideas and financial tools that are more times than not spot on. I have learned more about trading and money management from Jerry than anyone else, and the podcast is free. And he puts that, of course, in all caps and exclamation points. Thank you, Patrick. I really appreciate your feedback. Here's Bob L. from Maine. He says, I love Jerry's practical and data-driven advice. And don't forget, when giving, that appreciated securities are a great way to give. Bob, that is such a great point that we didn't bring up on the Giving podcast. But Bob makes a great point by letting us know that don't forget that if you have securities or stocks, like a stock portfolio, you can also give that in the form of a charitable giving strategy. So great point there. Thank you, Bob. Here's Stephen K. from West Hills, California. Stephen says, it is important to look at the market critically and not be emotionally invested in the swings of the market. FTM Radio, the podcast, and the website are a north star in the ocean of noise of the market. They are the focal point in which decisions can be reliably made. Stephen, that's incredible. Thank you so much for that comment. All right, so with all that said, I'm going to now give away the $100 in Bitcoin. And what we did is we took all of the entries and we randomly picked one. And the winner is, where's my drum roll, please? The winner is Row A from Los Angeles, California. And let me tell you what Row said. Row had a very nice comment. I really appreciate your wealth of knowledge and that you teach how to invest on a macroeconomic level. What I like most is that you're like my favorite fifth grade teacher. You make learning so enjoyable that I'm always eager to come to class for your next lesson. Ro, congratulations. Thank you for that comment, and congratulations to you for winning $100 in Bitcoin. Now, in order to receive that, you're going to receive an email from us, Ro, and we're going to request your wallet address so that we can send you some Bitcoin. And if you have any problems with that, we'll help you through the process. But we're very excited for you. Congratulations for winning $100 worth of Bitcoin. We think over time that will be worth potentially much more than just $100 that it is today. So congratulations, Row A out in Los Angeles, California. Now, today, on today's show, before we bring it to a close, we're going to announce our new giveaway. And the new giveaway is designed specifically for those who have listened to this podcast and say, you know, I'm charged up, I'm ready. I want to make a difference in my financial life. And what you need right now, more than anything, is education. And what we want to do is we want to give away a 3-month complimentary membership to our website, the Platinum membership. Now, the Platinum membership is a $99 per month value. So by giving away a 3-month membership to our Platinum membership, you're going to get everything that we have here at Follow the Money when it comes to resources and tools. And that's a $300 value, completely free to one lucky winner. And what's so special about this Platinum membership is that you're going to have access, as I mentioned, to everything that we have as far as all of our research, all of our tools, all of our resources that we make available to our members. But one of the special things inside of our Gold and Platinum membership, for that matter, is our Income University. And in that university, we teach you, as I told you earlier, 22 different ways that you can make money both now and in retirement. It's a huge thing that you can do to begin boosting your income so that you can then boost your savings and your investing. So one lucky winner will receive 3 months of our Platinum membership absolutely free. All you have to do for your chance to win is to go to followthemoney.com/giveaway. Anyone can enter. You can be a member or you can be an existing member here at Follow the Money, and we'll simply just extend your Platinum membership for 3 months if you win. Or if you're a Gold or a Silver member here at Follow the Money currently, then you win this, then you'll get a 3-month of our Platinum membership absolutely complimentary. Or if you've never been a member here, you can enter and get that completely free 3-month Platinum membership here at Follow the Money. A $300 value to one lucky winner. Go to followthemoney.com/giveaway for your chance to enter. And we will announce the winner of that giveaway on our next podcast later this month. Be sure to check out the details. And of course, when you go to followthemoney.com/giveaway, you'll enter your name and your email address and your town, so we'll be able to contact you if you win. That winner, of course, will be chosen at random. Fantastic. We had a great day today. And by the way, Ro, and all of the comments that came in, but Ro called me a favorite 5th grade teacher. And I got to say, I am so proud to be compared to a favorite 5th grade teacher because I like to make things simple and easy. You know how I am about people who like to try to talk over the heads and they like to use big words to confuse. That's very common in the financial world. I like to keep things simple, right? Let's keep it simple. So thank you for all of your feedback. Awesome stuff. And now is your chance to go enter to win 3 months of our Platinum membership, a $300 value. followthemoney.com/giveaway. Good luck. All right, friends, and that brings us to the end of our program. Thank you so much for allowing me into your life each and every time we do one of these podcasts. It is an honor and a privilege to be a part of your life. And as always, I'd like to leave you with a final word, this time taken from one of my favorite books of the Bible, Proverbs, chapter 13, verse 11. It says, "Wealth gained hastily will dwindle, but whoever gathers it little by little will increase." Here's how another translation says it. "Wealth from get-rich-quick schemes quickly disappears, but wealth from hard work grows over time." In other words, that dishonest gain or that dishonest wealth doesn't last. There's another verse in Proverbs chapter 21, verse 5 that says, "The plans of the diligent lead surely to abundance, but everyone who is hasty comes only to poverty." Boy, it's that hasty spirit. It's that desire to get rich quick that can really lead you astray. Remember, it takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of hard work to achieve things that are truly things that you would actually want. Don't try to take shortcuts when it comes to this. The Bible is filled with plenty of reasons why we should avoid that, and not just the Bible. Even if you don't believe the Bible, We have plenty of examples in society that show us that those who seek to get rich quick often find themselves in a world of heartache. Someone once said, get rich quick schemes are for the lazy and unambitious. Respect your dreams enough to pay the full price for them. And that's just something to think about. Remember, friends, when you want the truth about the global economy, just follow the money. Have a safe and prosperous week, and we'll see you right back here next time. Until then, God bless.
All of the information contained on the Follow the Money podcast is strictly for informational and educational purposes. It should not be construed as specific investment advice. The views and opinions of our guests and sponsors, including Tom Cloud, are their own and do not necessarily represent the views of FTMDaily.com or Robinson Media Group, LLC. Jerry Robinson does hold an insurance license and at times may offer consulting on life insurance and fixed retirement income products. Follow-up, individualized responses to email or phone requests that involve the rendering of personalized investment advice for compensation will not be made absent compliance with state investment advisor registration requirements or an applicable exemption or exclusion and applicable insurance regulations. Past performance is not indicative of future results. You should be aware of the real risk of loss in following any strategy or investment discussed on the podcast. Remember, never do your financial planning through podcast or radio. It's your money. Be wise. Do your due diligence and always consult a trusted financial professional before making any financial decisions.